Hello and welcome with the Inforunners. I'm Al Garrett and I'm joined by Execute, and today we have the voice in the void. GoMitchUrself. Say good day, Mitch.
Hello, everyone.
And Mitch came to us for Fix My Fleet, and he has a particular problem. He's got a very small fleet and a very limited budget, and he's stuck. But before we go any further, Execute, what's our competition at the moment and what's it about?
Well, it's more of a giveaway, and it's kind of a tribute to Eric Jaden Lanza. He has unfortunately passed away, but his good friend had brought this ship for him, which was a Hornet and an F7A upgrade, which we all know is very, very valuable. And so he wants to make sure it gets to someone that will enjoy it as much as his mate did. And so we're giving that away.
So how do you get it?
Literally leave hashtag Jaden sorry, I'm just reading what I wrote there. There's a grammar error. I'm gonna have to fix it. It's driving me nuts. Right, yeah. So hashtag Jaden in the comments, and yeah, just be subscribed and hashtag Jaden in the comments, and we'll go through every video up until we hit to 12,500 subscribers, and then we'll give that away. All right. As Agard was saying, yeah, very, very stuck. This fleet was so. We'll get you to explain all your ships, Mitch, and then we'll kind of explain why you're kind of stuck.
Alrighty, so we've got a couple of low-end ships there. So we've got the Prospector, entry-level mining. We've got the Cutlass Red, some medical gameplay, but also a half-decent combat ship because you've still got the Cutlass Black's ability. A Taurus there, which is essentially just a placeholder, but it's there at the moment, and then the MSR, which was my baby. I have a displate of it, but I've come to kind of not despise, but just not enjoy as much as I thought it would. And then the one that I think should be the most gibboning, the BMM.
Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit more about those 5 ships? So start again with the Prospector. What was your initial thought? Like, why did you buy the Prospector? What did you want to do with the Prospector? And then do that for all the ships.
Yeah, sure. So I never actually thought I'd get into mining gameplay, but when refining came about, I just figured I'd CCU to it and give it a go. And from doing that and just going through the refining process and then hauling back to wherever. I found that actually quite fun and a bit relaxing compared to the intense joysticks getting flung all over the place to combat. So that's why I got the Prospector and why it's there. The Cutlass Red is most recent CCU that I got and have been using for the latest event, the Xenofret. So that's come in quite handy, and just I got that. The Taurus again, just a placeholder, so that I haven't got any affinity to it. It's just a ship, and the MSR, and the MSR. Well, it was designed. I picked it up and I went for it with the chain simply to be the daily driver of my fleet. Not too big, able to get through jump points, can do hauling data, even it's pretty decent at combat as well, especially if you've got people in the turret. So that's why there. And the Battered Merchantman, I love the massive cargo hauling. I love the blockade runner idea of it, and I love the shops, and I love having my own captain's quarters, and that's what I didn't have in my fleet.
Okay.
But the obviously, we're all waiting for Mr. John Crew to reveal to us the magical new concept that it's going to be. So, but yeah, that was that.
Okay,
all right.
I have a question. You've got these 5 ships. Are they in a single pack together, or is there one ship in particular that's your game pack?
So
I love how. Sorry, I got to interrupt you. I love how Agard's like implying he doesn't know the answer. I was going to go with a completely different tack and go, and it was like this, and it was hell, and it took us ages to work this out. And Agard's like, Now I'll just pretend that like 10 hours didn't exist. That was amazing.
We've just broken the fourth wall.
Yeah, I know. But yeah, sorry. Go ahead, Mitch. Just rewind a bit. Yeah.
This is actually quite an important question, I think. So just for your information, the MSR that you see on the list there is actually my game package. And so that's a chain taken up from an Avenger Squadron 42 game package. We've got the BMM, which is I got quite cheap. So it was a P72 to BMM. So that's got a value of 255. But the other three there, so the Red, the Prospector, and the Taurus, actually stemmed from, and this is where the big issue arises, from referrals. And so one of them's the Gladius of hitting 10 referrals. There was the P52, which was a promotion a while back, and the Dragonfly, which was the most recent promotion. And the issue with those is I can't just simply mount them. But the good side to it is that I get the value of the Gladius, the P52, and the Dragonfly as kind of a free step up in the chain.
Yeah. So it made it really difficult because you can get these melted if you go to customer service and get your money back. But the big thing that you'll see as we went through this, we had this one that we initially went towards, and then we kind of moved away from that because we've gone to a really long-term approach in the end. And we'll go through that a little bit now. So we'll go into this is the first one that we looked at. So it unmelts those three ships. And I've just realized the MSR becomes an Endeavor, and he had just enough credits to get to the Polaris. We'd have to help him out with a CC for that, of course. But he was really into combat. Like, it was really obvious to me and you, Algrid, wasn't it? It came through really strong.
That's right. What profession are you after? I want an Ares.
Yeah, he went straight into the Ares Ion, and we're just like eye rolling, going, "Oh, what the fuck have we walked into?" But look, honestly, this is still a really good buy because he can take that big ship and earn everything under it. Also, from a low budget perspective, the Endeavor is probably going to increase a lot. But unfortunately, left with his three little ships. He still does have his fighter, so he's one of those people that likes fighters. But then we moved away from that, and so that was the first day, and we said sit on that and have a think about it, and then come back. And he had another talk with Algrid when I was busy, and this is kind of more like what they moved towards. And Algrid, I guess I'll let you go through here and talk about why some of these ships here are here and stuff like that. So go ahead, man.
Yeah. So when Mitch had some time to think about it, he thought, I'm really concerned. And I think you actually said, I went to my org and talked to my org, and they said, we got a Polaris.
They got a couple
and your thinking was, and I've only got two ships. I don't want to be locked in. And you were feeling, I want to get my hand into as many different gameplay loops as I can. And so that actually started, okay, well, if you don't want to go for Polaris, which I still think, based on what you were saying in terms of I like combat, is a really good option.
But if you Algrid, sorry to interrupt, but I do also want to point out this really exceeds his budget, right? This is a long-term plan where we're putting him in touch with Osiris, and he's going to be CCU chaining like crazy, right? He's got lots of CCU chains already, doesn't he, Algrid? So we're just encouraging him to keep going down that path, not applying the CCUs, and moving forward. And you even got a really good CCU just tonight, didn't you, Mitch? What was that one? That was a mold to a banner merchantman or something for cheap?
Yeah, so $50 CCU. So that's the cost I paid, which brings me from a mold $315 to a BMM $450. So what that essentially does is brings me $65. Oh, shit, I can't do math, but it brings me quite a lot. $45.
It saves a lot and moves you close to where you want to get.
But basically, you got $100 off, so to speak, because you're paying for a $350 merchantman, but you're really getting it for it's worth $450. So you're saving for $100. Sorry to interrupt, Algrid, but I thought that was important to bring up.
So one of the ships that he already had that he wanted didn't need us to actually sell it to him. Was the Endeavor. He'd actually got his chain already worked out for the Endeavor.
I was brainwashed by all your Fix My Fleet videos to jump on that in the last sale.
But we didn't have to bash him over the head and say buy this one, buy this. But he'd worked out that chain. He also was wanting to move towards the Orion because he had enjoyed the mining gameplay. He already had the BMM, so that was staying, and it's such a saving that he's got on that BMM. Unless he's moving up to something like the Polaris, it's something you don't melt, you don't touch it.
And that is something we brought up too just before the show. Like I said, well, if you do want to get that Polaris, it's not that much higher again above the Orion. So I also mentioned, and Algrid tends to agree, that is probably the odd duck of these ships because it doesn't mesh with the others as much. Of course, there's the Genesis there, but the Genesis stands alone where the Orion still needs a little bit of help. But that Endeavour and Crucible, and we even chucked a Reclaimer in there at one point instead of the Genesis, they work really well together. And we really had to sell him on that Crucible. I've never had so much trouble selling a Crucible to someone that's into combat because that's the reverse of combat. If you have combat, your economic ship is basically the repair ship because
if you're doing FPS, you want your healing ship.
Medical,
if you're doing pew pew with ships, you want your repair ship. But the Crucible, if you watch our Crucible episode, the Crucible really is the healer of your ships.
I'm just going to say why we're here because no one's going to find it in the middle of this video, but I know we're going to see comments. We've already found things since we've done that video only a week ago that we now want to chuck in that video. Like, that's how much it's changed just in the last week. So there are more stuff that's being brought to our attention from other people and comments and videos that have been linked and stuff like that. So we may do an update again of the Crucible in time. Sorry, I keep interrupting you. Sorry.
That's okay. And it's nature of a conversation. The last ship he's got is the Genesis, which is actually his bay. It's the ship that, apart from the Ares, he keeps going to. And so, while I personally think it's not the best ship to have, I think it's an overpriced cargo hauling or person hauling ship. And I think the Reclaimer would be a better fit. It's a ship that he likes.
And come on, Algrid. It's the cheap man's 890 jump, and you know it.
I wouldn't call it a cheap man's 890 jump. I'd call it
But yeah,
ship,
I think the other thing I'll add to this is the final long-term kind of goal. One of the things that we tried to, because he was so sold on trying out some of those Ares ions and stuff like that, that we're encouraging to go to the ion, but then have, CCU chains above that to go elsewhere, and also try not to apply as many of these CCUs as possible, because if he's playing the long game over 2 or 3 years, he's going to, every sale, so every Invictus, every anniversary sale, there's going to be those $0, but the war bond CCUs that he can pick up, and he'll just save and save and save. And we're hoping with smart things and like buying things on the grey market like he has with that upgrade and other war bond CCUs, that he can just claw more and more savings that he can get to there. Yes, he is going to have to put more money into the game, but he's willing to do that. We've talked to him about that. And over time, it just makes it less, because instead of him going, bang, $400, it's 5, 10, 5, 10, 15, whatever, or, over and over.
In some ways, it's a bit like what we used to do, isn't it? We used to buy gift cards to kind of whittle away at the cost. I've got the gift card, it gives me credit, give me credit, and then we'd apply it. But with the way war bonds went, gift cards got totally devalued because credits were totally devalued. And so buying CCUs and buying the war bond CCUs, which give $5 here, $10 there, you can actually make a saving. There are actually some war bond savings at the moment.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah, I did say we need to mention that in this video. So I'll even let Mitch say it. So Mitch, go ahead. Let Mitch do it.
So we've got the Cutlass Red, which is the one that I picked up.
That's not the one I'm talking about. I'm talking the C2 and the M2.
No.
He's going to go from all those.
I'm working my way up. So we've got the Cutlass Red. You've also got the I'm not sure if this has ended, but there was the bomber, the Retaliator bomber, and there was also the Heartseeker. And then we've also got the C2 and the M2, and the A2, if you're willing to go that high, which are all available at their cost price now. And even Sig kind of implied that get them now, because when they're coming out in a couple of months' time, they'll probably raise up in price. And so that's what I'm kind of edging on. So to kind of see the Orion, the big 575, its cost there, how am I going to afford this? Well, that Malta BMM CCU that I picked up is one of them, but we've also got the Hercules M2 to Orion CCU, which I'm hoping to pick up during when the Orion next goes on sale. But what I'm hoping is I've got a 600i Explorer to Hercules M2. It's a $5 CCU. I'm hoping that M2 will hopefully raise at a magical amount that we're yet to find out about to help me get closer to that Orion CCU and save a bit of money. And there's a couple of things along that, like the Redeemer's coming out third quarter this year. So, you might want, if you've got a space in your chain for that, that might be a good one to get too.
So I think the kind of moral of the story of this entire episode is we've kind of encouraged Mitch to keep playing the long game. He's already made a lot of savings. It was either consolidate and try and go into less ships, or just super play the long game. And that as we said, between these two options, you can clearly see that most people prefer this one. And if we can even get that, even if we can get that Orion up to a Polaris as well, and essentially is that other fleet with more ships. Yes, you've spent more money, but that's going to be much better for Mitch in the end of the day with what he's told us he wants to do. Sorry.
One of the things we did struggle with initially was Mitch was saying, I can't put more in, and I really don't want to do it. So we were kind of looking at how we can get there without Mitch having to put more money in. But then when we move to the long game, Mitch says, I can put money in here, I can put a little here, and so that changes the scope. And if you're willing to play that long game and buy CCUs,
the term for that, Algrid, in business is it's cash flow. So basically, it just allows him to trickle spend, essentially.
I mean, the big issue for me was definitely with the Polaris. I loved that idea, and it was just the large upfront cost of getting to it and getting the CCU, and it also if you go back to the first fleet that I had, and then you compare it to either of these two, you can see that there was a lot of discussion and thought that went into to get to these other two results, and so. Because I was, one of my biggest issues was the Prospector, where the hell do I go from there? And the MSR, I was like, well, I'm at $260. I don't have a daily driver because I'm not liking this one. But where do I go from there as well? And I think after having the discussion with Execute and Algrid and going to that second fleet that we discovered, I'm definitely in a much happier and a settled place with, especially for now with the loaners that I'll get with these when I get to these ships, or even the ships that I use getting to those ships in the CCU chains. I think at the final result, I'll be much happier, and I'll be able to earn the Ares Ion or the Kiwi Bird or whatever. You know what, Sig, I'm calling you out. You need to make a New Zealand ship. You've done the Talon, you've done the Shrike. You've got the Hawk.
You can just make one, paint it black, and call it the All Blacks, just like the footy team.
I want a ground vehicle that's designed after a bird. Tavaran tank.
There we go. We have an emu on our coat of arms. They have this.
Hey, and admittedly, we lost a war against the emus.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, what war have you lost against the Kiwi bird? It looks like it. It looks like the little creatures from Star Wars. The lunch that Chewbacca eats.
It looks like a walking football. Anyway.
All right. That's why they're good at football.
Yeah, maybe. They had got a lot of practice with those little birds. So is there any comments you'd like to see in the comments, Algrid, just specifically? Anything? No? Okay, well, I'd like to see... There is a weird thing with referrals, because we often deny about going backwards, but Mitch has just been so savvy with those CCU chains. For me, it was a double down, right? And it was like, just keep doing what you're doing. And I'd actually Osiris did pop in at one point, and I actually, Osiris, if you're out there, drop down in the comments. Like, we'll set you up with Mitch and see if you guys can sit down. And I think you'll find when you look through what we look through, that was probably the best way to go. Just keep playing that long game. Anything you want to add, Algrid?
I think that's right. If you're really limited on your cash, it limits what you can do, and that means you have to consult. In that case, you probably would look at consolidating down, but you're losing a lot to get to where you want. But in the long run, that long game is much better.
He must have had somewhere in the vicinity of 20 CCUs, wouldn't it have been? Somewhere like that. Yeah, there was quite a lot in there, guys. So he really has fought hard and tooth and nail for those dollars. But yeah, you could. We technically could still go to the Polaris and in one big bang gain all that back. But to give him that versatility that was after and more gameplay, that's kind of what we encouraged. And I know there's like not combat in that fleet, unless he does also get that Polaris. But when he's already got the Polaris, I think the hardest part of this was just a bit of it was talking him out of the fighters. But once we got over that and he started to remember the Inforunners videos he'd seen, it kind of came a bit more naturally.
Mm.
So yeah, I'd like to get your guys' thoughts, because this one, I think 3 times I sat there and went, oh boy, this is hard. Like, and I don't say that line often, because normally it's very obvious to me in our grid. We normally, there are some hard ones, but this one was a very big back and forth.
This one really was hard, wasn't it? It was hard because of those referrals. Yeah. The referrals and those free ships are really good bonuses. They're a good discount to CCU from.
But they lock you in.
There was also the head and heart thing too, because me and Algrid are very head based and financially based, but there were ships that he was emotionally tied to and passionate to. So there was a lot of give and take, back and forth discussion to kind of whittle out which ones. And at the end of the day, this gives him the flexibility to kind of explore as he goes along and stuff like that. So yeah,
I can say that I'm going to have dreams from now on of Execute saying, what is the spending? What is the dollar value? How many credits do you have? Credits.
I had to yell sometimes. It was bad. I'm bringing up photos of the MSR and photos of the Ion going, are you insane? Like, same dollar value, quarter the size. Like, but I sometimes I just have to drill things in. It was
very similar when I was talking to you, how much credits have you got? Where have you got? How much are you willing to put in? And if you're really limiting yourself, you really limit the options you've got. But if you're willing to play that long game and put a little bit in here, a little bit there, you actually open this field up and make it easier for you to get to where you want. With those referral ships, if you are limited, I probably wouldn't have gone the line where Mitch went, where he actually took all 3 up at the same time.
Yeah, definitely.
I'd probably focused on one and taken it up to, say, the Endeavour, and then that would have got me the loaner ships that the Endeavour has, and that would have given me gameplay loops for that, or taken the one up to the Orion, which gave me the gameplay loops for that.
See, my issue there was a little bit of FOMO during the sale, fear of missing out.
If you've got the money to do so, that's fine, but if you're also trying to do referrals and you're low budget like Mitch, he's kind of backed himself into a corner where it's you either keep going forward and playing, doubling down on what you're doing, or eject and get the hell out, like what that first fleet was, right? So that was the kind of 2 drastic options, or not drastic, but they're not drastic, they're extremes of each other. Other spectrums
that are there. And the nice thing about the current fleet is that we've got the Orion in there, which can be looked at as being a Polaris. You've still got the
you can even
Starliner in there,
you can even exit out our grid. You can even go to something like a Reclaimer or whatever else. We left it open for options. And there's nothing to say you can't bring one of those ships up as well and go to another combat ship. If he wants to, in the future, go deeper, so say he did mention a Nautilus at one point. If he wants to, say, turn one of those ships to Nautilus, he has options now. And that's the thing. But we had to give him enough options to get to where he is happy. And it just made it difficult. And unfortunately, slow money is the way to go here.
And I think one of the things that really worked was just really reiterating to Mitch that it was a matter of that long game, not necessarily a matter of get it and apply it. Even when you're applying CCUs, it's a matter of, okay, do I want what gameplay am I getting if I apply this CCU? Do I want it now, or can I wait? because the longer you wait, you're more likely to pick up those bomb CCUs down the track that can fill in
gaps. If I
gaps.
may just quickly add to it, I mean, I've got an example in the prospector chain that I had. I went from the Gladius to a Talon, saved some money on the Talon, and obviously had the Gladius for free. And then I went straight to a prospector because I wanted to do that mining gameplay, and there was a want for that. And I didn't have enough credits to buy it in game and didn't want to grind. And so I made that choice to, spend what was $40 to get to the prospector. But now in hindsight, I'm not staying at the prospector. It's that was a long-term loss, and not really a short-term game. And I could have put at the moment, I could have put a Cutlass Red in there and saved myself $5. And then come Invictus, come Alien Week, come whatever sale they bring out of somewhere, all the way to the Expo. I could have probably put 4 or 5, maybe probably 5's pushing it, but definitely 4 based on my other chains of other ships with discounts and then.
Even though you're looking at discounts, and even though you're looking at getting to where you want, it is a game, and so it has to be fun. And so there are elements where you wanted to try out the mining, you got to the point, okay, I've got to invest here. You've actually found you enjoy it. And so while it may be a monetary loss, as you said, you've actually got a gameplay loop that you're enjoying, which is kind of adding to the fun of the game. And so there's always that balance. Contrast, isn't it?
I'm going to wrap it up here, boys.
Yep.
So in closing, Mitch, are you happy with the outcome? You've got a plan going forward. You're a little bit less stressed, I guess, at this point, I'm hoping.
Yeah, no, I'm just ready for the game to release. Am I right?
In 2 or 3 years, because you need time to get the money together. But
I get you. Time for the chain building, but yeah.
All right, then. Again, in the comments below, hashtag Jaden if you want your chance at Super Hornet and F7A upgrade. He's been Algrid. I've been Execute. Voice in the Void has been Mitch, and we'll catch you all in the next one.
Thank you.
Take care.
Anytime, Mitch.
What am I doing?
No, nothing. I'm just talking to you. We're trying to close off the show. This is the part where you don't talk, all right? Yeah. All right, it's all good.
Supported by our patrons.